snack cakes, and welcome back to Dusk, a Two Lit podcast. And I am here in person with Morgan, who we've met before, and Jack. Now, Jack, tell us why you're here. Tell us a little bit about yourself and what you are doing at this year's Fringe.
Okay, so I'm Jack. I'm the creator of the new musical hashtag No Filter that is heading to Fringe with Wishbone Media this year.
Beautiful segue into Wishbone Media. Morgan, tell us a little bit about what Wishbone is doing and why we are collaborating in this new and exciting way.
Yes, Wishbone Media started last year. It's the production company that brought Dusk to Fringe. It was started with the intention of bringing Dusk to Fringe, and afterwards, hopefully getting to work with other creators and emerging artists to help develop their original works, mainly because we know how difficult it can be to even to feel like you have an opportunity to break into the performance space in any form of creation or performance. It is intimidating, I think, for a lot of people. So the goal of helping other emerging artists bring their original works to life, there's not really anywhere you can find to go and just do that. Bringing new ideas that feels like a safe and collaborative environment that I'm aware of to kind of get your start and work with other people who have the same kind of mindset approaching the arts. So we have a goal of helping others kind of get that sense of community and collaborative creative environment through working together in that way.
Excellent.
Yeah.
And so we have chosen a new work for this year's Fringe, which is hashtag No Filter. So Jack, would you like to tell us what No Filter is and how it kind of came to be?
Yeah, so it's a musical about the harsh effects that social media can have on people's relationships, which is, although it was something that I started writing 8 years ago, is still very relevant today, and it's still something that people have in their lives day to day with social media, and how perfection is seen through social media and how that distorts people's realities in real life. The big kind of view behind it and how the musical works is, if you could pinch the screen on someone's photos, how much more of their life would you see rather than just that photo?
That's really cool. And how did this musical come about?
So it's kind of a mosaic of many things that have come together throughout my life. So from the past 8 years that I've started writing it, but also 21 years since I was 16, the kind of different stories from people in my life, people, my friends, family, and stories that I've written down. They do know about it.
They have been informed.
And that's kind of come together into a story that is new characters, new stories, and plays on what I had written down over that time. It started out with a phrase of "let's start at the end," and that's how the musical starts, and that's to start at the end of a relationship. And it shows what happened to their relationship, this kind of distance, kind of two strangers after they've broken up. And then we go back in time and see what happened through that relationship and how social media kind of destroyed what they did have.
What do you want to achieve with hashtag No Filter?
The biggest achievement really is the kind of message it has. And as much as social media, sometimes people say, don't use social media, come off social media. That isn't the message, because social media is inevitable. It's always going to be around. So the message is more like, look out for people, because everyone's world is distorted through social media and how they portray other people's lives and how they judge people and things like that. It's kind of like, look out for your friends, look out for your family, because maybe one of these stories within the musical is something that you're going through or something that a friend's going through. And that's the overall kind of message, is just kind of, just look out for other people. In terms of the musical's longevity, like how far it's going to go. There's three different views on it, whether it goes into mainstream theatre, whether it goes into immersive theatre, or something completely new. My biggest ideal is for it to be something that is completely new, a different experience that's not just sit in a seat and watch a show. It's something that people experience.
Mhm.
And that's the main goal of the show, is that people experience and take something away from it, rather than just a story of I've seen this musical.
And how are you engaging in kind of different or new design elements to kind of achieve that goal?
So the overall image of the show is that it's a blank canvas, basically, because on social media, as much as some people can have thousands and thousands of followers and some people can have 3 followers, everyone on social media is the same. Everyone will be judged the same. Everyone will see their lives as something that's not real. Everyone is basically the same. So the whole thing is a blank canvas. So the whole design image of the show, that everything is white, and how things then get projected onto that white is how we see their life through social media. So they can be telling their story in complete blank whiteness, and then as soon as they scroll through their social media is when the stage and their costumes and everything is flooded with color, and how their lives are seen through social media rather than their real life.
It's awesome. Little biased, but I think it's really, really cool. And the music takes a lot of motifs from existing kind of media and existing musicals. So what were kind of the inspirations behind some of the lyrics and sounds for the show?
It's evolved massively since the first writing of it. It started with a kind of a singer-songwriter style, which is kind of a moody, angsty version of like breakups and love lives and things like that. And the way it's evolved is more so using personal music to me to inspire it, and that is by using music of my late father and brother that passed away from issues that are seen within the musical itself. And that music attaches so well to some of the stories in it, and that's then grown the story into what is now a rock musical that I think kind of attaches to more people. It's not so niche and just brings in one audience. It brings in a multitude of audiences to make sure that more people see and enjoy it, rather than just take away one story.
So as a collaboration with Wishbone Media, and the fact that we are doing this show directly after Dusk, how is this collaboration working? Morgan, do you want to talk about that a little bit?
Well, I think we've discovered there are a lot of like visual parallels that come out, but also I think the audience mainly that will have shared a lot of these experiences with the characters in No Filter are the same audience that probably grew up with Twilight. Like social media was becoming more popular as they were probably getting into like first relationships and stuff, and then online dating became bigger and stuff. So like the people that kind of were the first wave of all of it, I think are also the same audience that grew up seeing like this other love story portrayed, which it almost goes from like the fantasy, like idealized, like whatever real version of like this is a love story, to the reality that a lot of people experience when you see them back to back. Obviously, the genres are very different. But I do think that kind of always seemed like it would work really well.
It's something that, like, when I first saw Twilight in the cinema, I came out of that movie like with a weird like tingling sensation, like you fell for that love story. And I think that's the same thing with social media, that people fall for other people's love stories.
It's like
when it's not actually reality.
It's like you know that you shouldn't too, and you can't like pinpoint why, I think, for a lot of people. And I think that tends to be the case with a lot of things on social media. They're like, I don't like know this person, like the parasocial relationship of it all too is like, I don't, but you keep coming because you're like interested in all of it. And I think a lot of the characters No Filter struggle a lot with like the boundaries with social media. And I mean, I think Dusk is not deep, so we're not, the parallels there are not,
We're not trying to get
the
too deep.
same or anything like that. But I think you could easily like analyze specifically the audience, like why they might be drawn to both.
I think playing into the, we've all been told what love is supposed to look like. And then what does it look like when we go after the love we've been told to look for?
Yeah.
And it's a really interesting
And
tonal juxtaposition.
how to go about it. Because like, I think a lot of people grow up with, they're looking at like, if we're using Twilight as an example, like that's a finished story. You know the ending. You don't in real life, especially like social media is ever evolving and all of that. So No Filter isn't, I mean, it's an Act 1 preview too. So like people will leave not quite knowing what the resolutions are.
But knowing enough for it to be satisfying and, and to exist as one version of a thing, with the opportunity to expand, obviously.
Yeah, I describe it to the people who are very familiar with musical theater, but also like don't know contemporary musical theater a lot. I'm like, Into the Woods, how if it ended at Act 1, you would know the story. Like you don't know how it ends exactly. Like it hasn't gotten that messy to the point where like everything is different now or anything like that. And I think the characters are also compelling that you want to know more. So
So
very well done, very well developed.
Yeah. So how can people support these projects? We'll start with No Filter, and then we'll go to Dusk because that one's a little bit more obvious.
I mean, coming to see the show is a big thing. It's going to be at Edinburgh Fringe from the 12th to the 24th of August. And it's more so also spreading the word about this show. I think it's a story that should be seen by many people. I don't want it to be something that's seen by a few and forgotten about, because I think it's something that has the longevity for more people to see and understand and actually help people. And I think, so to come and see the show and spread the word about that show at Fringe is the biggest way to support for me.
I think follow the Instagram page because we'll have clips we can start sharing, and being able to see like the vision coming to life, especially you guys all had costumes on today and it looks great. So seeing all of that when it's all put in the context of the story is, I think, going to be really cool for people.
Yeah. And do we want to shout out the time, the place, the when, the where of the show?
Do you want to do it or do you want me to do it? Okay. Greenside venue is a George Street location in Forest Theater at 10 p.m.
Is when #NoFilter is on from the 12th through the 24th, but not the 18th.
Yes.
And then
the Instagram too, it's at No Filter Musical, right?
Yeah, at No Filter Musical.
Yep.
And then Dusk, which you've probably been inundated with this information, but
on all things basically at Dusk_musical. The parts I always forget. You can listen to it on Spotify and all other music streaming platforms. You can watch it on Vimeo. And we're recording a version of this year's show as well, which is like the sequel, Dusk 2.
The Electrical Blue.
Yeah, we find out what happens like when R gets to interact with the rest of the family and not just her mom. I think it's a lot more lively that way. We've got some new songs with some cursed content that you guys picked. So
#cursed.
It'll be special.
You asked for this.
Yeah.
And it's on when and where?
It will be on at the same location at 9 p.m. The same days.
Yeah. Is there anything else we want to promote while we have a captive audience?
Would you like people to follow your social media or anything like that?
He's like, no, I don't exist. I only exist through my art.
Yeah. Do you have anything to promote? We never ask you.
You guys should come and see Dusk. You guys should continue watching the podcast and to have other people watch the podcast, because the more you watch it, the more likely we are to make more of these. And we would like to make more of these for you guys. So
we have some new friends around that you guys are going to want to meet too.
Yeah, absolutely. You guys are going to absolutely want to meet some of the new cast members. We also have some cursed merch, don't we?
Oh, we sure do.
We have cursed merch.
It's on Bonfire. I will have by this point posted The most embarrassing thing I'll ever put on the internet, having to review this merchandise, I had to wear it and like show it on camera. So if
So
I'm putting
exciting.
that up, please buy it.
So exciting.
Or at least
Can't
look at
wait.
it. Share it with people. It's funny.
Do you have anything else you want to promote? Any final remarks? All right, then without further ado, thank you for watching Dusk, a Two-Lit podcast. I have been your host, Cosette. These have been my wonderful guests, Morgan and Jack. And yeah, thank you for watching this special episode of Dusk, a Two-Lit podcast. Bye, everyone.